Welcome to the Health Revolution, the program that shows you how to have a life of vibrant well-being. In a world full of noisy health trends, we bring you clarity. We reveal the science-backed strategies that truly work in a sea of fads. We explore the physical strength, emotional resilience, and mental mastery. These are the keys to an enriched life. Join us for inspiring interviews with champions who've conquered life's health challenges. Are you ready to unlock your potential to live with vitality and purpose? Then join the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, health and fitness expert, speaker, and a mom who understands. Let's embark on this transformative quest. Together, we're about to change the game starting now. The information provided in this show is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Viewers should use their own discretion and consult with a healthcare professional for personalized guidance and recommendations. Welcome, everybody. You are watching the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison. We are so excited that you are joining us today. No matter which way you're tuning into us, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We want to stay connected to you. Also, don't forget at the bottom of your screen, there is a tab for show episode notes. Very important for today's episode. You're going to want to reference that going forward. And so let's face it, we're diving right in. You know, we always talk about the physical strength, the emotional resilience, and the mental mastery. And oftentimes we are exposed to the phrase of authentic, be empowered, live an empowered life, be true to yourself. But do we really understand how that works? How do we get reconnected to our true selves, especially over these last couple of years? We know it's been a little bit of a roller coaster no matter where you live. And so it's important for us to navigate and redirect, course correct, and find out where our true self is so that we can take it to the next level. My next guest is someone who is extremely versed in that. I'm excited for our conversation today and for you to get to know her. First, watch this. Meet Darcie Warden, a dedicated life and wellness coach passionate about helping individuals navigate life transitions and rediscover their authentic selves. With a rich background in coaching, yoga therapy, and group fitness, Darcie blends her expertise to support personal growth, clarity, and confidence. Based in Bozeman, Montana, Darcie empowers her clients to embrace their purpose and live fully aligned with their true essence. And today, we'll explore how Darcie guides her clients and others toward meaningful change and lasting fulfillment. Darcie Warden, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm great. Thanks.
I'm excited about our conversation. First of all, what inspired you to become a life and wellness coach? What does that mean? And at what point was it important for you to take on this role?
Great question. I did not start out wanting to be a life and wellness coach. I honestly thought that was kind of like for people who didn't need, I don't know. I thought it wasn't for me. I knew who I was. I was going to go out and be me in the world. And turned out I actually didn't know myself all that well. And I discovered that through my journey through the fitness world. So I became a group fitness instructor, and I was leading these classes, and ended up they were pretty intense, and I was ended up hurting myself. And I was actually pushing people really hard in my class. And so I took a step back and got into yoga, which really helped me come back to myself and not power through these workouts, which I'm all about. But there is a time where we have to come back to ourselves and really check in to see if this is what's good for us. And so I readjusted my workouts. I got into yoga. And in that process, I started to reconnect with something a little bit deeper in myself, with the breath work, with the silence, with long, strong holds and stretches. And I discovered through this process yoga therapy. And I'm one of those people that once I get interested in something, I am all in, right? I was a group fitness instructor, all in. I was into yoga, all in. yoga therapy. And then yoga therapy opened up a whole new world to me in that there is a lot of internal healing that can take place when we turn toward ourselves and we listen, and there's a level of acceptance for things that maybe we weren't willing to look at before, and have compassion for ourselves and heal that little inner child that's within us. But yoga therapy only took it so far. And I recognized for myself, as I was having these insights, I'd walk out of a session, or I'd be in session with someone, giving a session, and it was like, okay, now what? There's these insights, and we were kind of left hanging, and it was an incomplete process. And so that's when I decided life coaching and wellness coaching was the next step for me, because I wanted to complete the journey in terms of how do you work with this information and integrate it into your life and be more you. And so that's it. It's been this journey of from one step to the next, and then finally taking me to life coaching and recognizing the power that we have in our lives. There's like, we have a lot of agency to decide and be how we want to be in the world. And I think it's hard to remember that sometimes. I think life can be challenging and we forget.
What's the difference between yoga and yoga therapy? Are they one and the same, or are there different characteristics?
There are different characteristics. So yoga, well, I'll start with this. Yoga is one of those things where, like, someone says, "Oh, I'll just go to yoga." There are so many styles of yoga. There are so many like traditions that you can move into. So one of the common ones is either hatha. It's more like sun salutations, and so yoga is really what I'm trained in, and it's a beautiful way to get into some movement and some breath, and to get some strength and stretch and all that kind of stuff, and walk away feeling kind of feeling pretty good. Yoga therapy is something that I do with someone where it's one-on-one, and ideally it's in person, and I'm working with people so that I'm holding them in these yoga postures so they can relax into the posture, feel the edge, feel the tension, but not have to work towards it. And then what happens are these insights for people. It's fascinating when we hold these places, like have these long holds, and tears will come, insights come, and it's just like, oh my God, I'm getting in my own way. And I'll ask, how are you getting in your own way? Oh, and then they go on. So with the yoga therapy, it's great to have these insights, and it's great to have a nice deep stretch. And then what? And so it's like, I wanted to take it that next step. But yeah, they're different in terms of the depth and how quickly you can get to some healing, for sure.
What are some things that you're noticing about the pace in which we're moving today? And were you in a position where you weren't moving the pace that you needed to, and that you had to slow down, and that started your journey? Say more about that.
It's a great question. I'm a hard charging person, and my pace was fast, and my pace was consistent. And I thought if I worked harder, charged harder, I would actually get ahead faster. And I didn't even know where I was headed. So get ahead to where? I'm not sure, right? So when I injured myself, and I think the universe gives us what we need at certain times. And when I hurt myself, I had to slow down. And I recognized that life kept going even though I slowed down. I was still getting stuff done. I was still, in fact, there was a point where I noticed I was just as productive and happier when there was a little bit more space in my day, and I was creating room. And that was a big one for me. And yoga therapy really, I took that learning into yoga therapy. And I don't really tell people what to do when I coach them, but offer when we slow down, we actually create space for more.
Why is it hard for us to slow down? What have you noticed? What are some of your insightful observations about you, and then things that you started to notice were a pattern with those around you, with other women, or maybe those who are just in a hectic work environment, trying to just crush their role, their career. What have you noticed?
Yeah, and you hit on a couple things there because I can really relate to that. In when I was working, running high level campaigns, working with high level folks in the federal government, and I I believed that I had to crush it, right? Like there was no other option. Um, and and I think there is a little bit of having to prove myself. Being a woman at the time, I was young compared to who I was surrounded by, and as a younger woman, it's just there's so much to prove, right? There's and so that was an element of it. And I was also a single mom, so I also felt like I had a lot to prove in terms of I can do this, and you can think less of me, world, if you want to, but I'm going to show you I'm going to crush it. And what happens, I don't want to, there's no judgment on that, right? There's no, because that's what I needed to do at that time. That said, it's not sustainable, right? So it's going to burn us out. And I was burnt out, and I wasn't being the best mom I could be. And I honestly wasn't probably being the best colleague and employee as I could have been, because I was more concerned about how I was perceived in showing up. And when I switched that around, and I thought, how do I want to feel? How do I want to perceive myself? I'm trying to crush it for everybody out there, but what about for me? And that's a tough shift in terms of constantly giving and providing and supporting for everyone else, bending and reshaping myself so I can be good in the world, to actually turn it around and look at myself and say, what do I actually need? And it makes me emotional right now just thinking about it. It's like, how many of us don't do that and constantly um what's the word I'm looking for? Where we are dismissing ourselves for others.
And you bring up a good point of the scenario of jumping out of the starting gate, having to prove yourself, and we as women, yes, there's a lot of times where assumptions are made about what we can and can't do, and there's still a lot of moving pictures with just women who are continuing to add input and nuggets and value to the whole picture. And I'm just wondering how much of this is expectation of creating the life that we either want or that we are striving for, because it will help to set a better scene. In other words, the expectation of when you're joining the workforce, when you're, it doesn't matter where you are, that you have to work hard and you have to go all in order to be successful. So then how does one be successful and not crash and burn?
Yeah, I love this question because I am coaching several of my clients on this particular piece right now. And it comes down to boundaries, right? It comes down to And I'm thinking of one person specifically where we are working on what are her priorities in her life and where do those boundaries begin to get established, and it, time with family and cutting off work at certain hours, um, and and setting the example of how to crush it without compromising your work-life balance and your happiness. And this is one of the other elements about this boundary piece, especially when someone hasn't been laying the boundaries initially, is the pushback, right? People won't believe you, right? They're like, that's not a real boundary. I'm going to ask again, or I'm going to demand. And there is risk when we start to put boundaries down. That means we're showing up differently, and it's scary to just see what's going to happen. And a lot of folks will not put the boundary down because they're already putting out there what's going to happen instead of waiting to see what will happen.
So
Yeah.
then what comes to mind for me is that how does one distinguish the scenario of I'm putting boundaries that will support my growth and it not be supporting comfort zone? Because then I could see how it could be mistaken for, oh, you're just not trying hard enough. And when I say generally speaking, but
Yeah.
then are we pushing appropriately, or are we at risk of edifying our comfort zone because that technically feels better? So I'm just wondering, how do you know the balance? Because I know the tightrope is a hard thing to, it's hard to nail the bullseye.
Yeah, I think this is where I find my balance anyway, and I work with people. Is it really comes down to my values, right? Like I actually have a personal manifesto, and my values are like inside this manifesto, along with the vision that I have for my life. And if I look at my values and they are not aligned with the way my life is playing out, and if those boundaries are going to help me realign, then that's when I know I'm in the right place. And that's a great check. And when I always encourage all my clients, let's do a values assessment first, because that's going to be the space where we can continually check to see how you're showing up in your life as you want to. And the boundaries are a huge one with that. And I will say too, it's so easy to give ourselves a little bit more slack maybe than we need to, right? There are those times too. Like an example might be, I might cut out early because I want to go watch a Netflix show, right? Like that's not adhering to a boundary. Honestly, that's me not wanting to do the next thing on the agenda, or
Or it
so
could be comfort zone. It could be
yeah.
me wanting to just cozy up to comfort zone.
Yeah, right. There's discomfort. And I was just writing about this, like being able to um, hold discomfort and be okay in uncomfortable space is not something many people are good at. We avoid discomfort, which is why there's a lot of scrolling, there's a lot of binge watching, addictions of all kinds, right? One of mine was shopping. Like my Amazon shopping cart was always full. Never bought anything, but I'd be online shopping, and then eventually I was just like, this is not good, Darce. So bringing awareness to it, making an adjustment, because we're human, right? So I just want to say too, like, this stuff happens. It's not terrible that we slip. We just have to get right back on track when we recognize it.
This is really good. We're going to continue our conversation. First, we're going to take a commercial break. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this.
Hi, I'm Adriana, and welcome back to Fit Bites. Today, let's talk about the warning signs of a stroke. Knowing what to look for can make all the difference, as strokes require immediate medical attention. Remember the acronym FAST to quickly identify a stroke. F stands for face drooping. One side of the face may droop or feel numb. Ask the person to smile. If it's uneven, that's a red flag. A is for arm weakness. One arm may feel weak or numb. Ask them to raise both arms. If one drifts downward, that's another sign. S is for speech difficulty. The person may slur words or have trouble speaking. Ask them to repeat a simple sentence. T is for time to call 911. If you see any of these signs, even if they go away, call 911 immediately. Every second counts. Other warning signs include sudden confusion, trouble seeing, dizziness, or loss of balance. Quick treatment can reduce long-term damage, so act fast. Remember, recognizing these signs could save a life. Stay aware, stay vigilant, and always prioritize your health. Stay tuned for more Fit Bites with Adriana.
Welcome back to the Health Revolution. We're talking about how to reconnect with our true self. Our guest today, Darcie Warden, she's a life and wellness coach. And before the break, we were talking about some of the elements to keep in mind of how to create balance. And I want to switch gears and talk about the disconnect that oftentimes we find ourselves going through in life. Why is there a disconnect? Why is it hard to connect with our true self? What are some of the areas that we are struggling with?
Woof. Okay. That's a nice big question right there. Yeah. Yeah. The disconnect, well, I'm thinking about the work you do too, when I think about the ways in which we reconnect. And I will say the frame that I work with is exercise. Always, always, always. Exercise is a huge piece of staying connected to ourselves. Another piece of it is awareness around our emotions and our thoughts. And, when we really take the time to be silent and sit with ourselves, that is when we recognize how many thoughts we have and what meaning we make out of them. And they really don't mean anything at all until we make meaning out of them. And so it's a way for us to disconnect even further when we don't exercise, when our breath is super shallow and we're not breathing all the way down. I mean, stretching is another one as a way to reconnect. So creating space in the body. So exercise, breath, stretching, awareness of our mind and how it impacts our emotions, and then societal norms, right? I am a big one on the societal norms that really do derail us in terms of who we are. And I'll just use my son as an example. He's 21 and just heart of gold, this kid, right? Of course, I'm mom and I think he's amazing. But he is finding his own way. He is breaking the mold and he's like, I'm going to do it this way. I'm not going to go the route that everyone is telling me to go. And as, mom who's a coach, I worry about him a little bit, but I'm also so completely impressed with him that he is staying true to his North Star that's developing, right? It's like he's 21. He doesn't know where he's going. He's figuring it out, but he's not going to go the route that he knows is not for him. And so we disconnect when we start. I'm huge on values. I mean, I will come back to that over and over again. We step away from our values. We step away from our physical body and we don't take care of it. We don't eat well. We don't sleep well. And then our thoughts and emotions follow suit. And because this body's home, right? This is home. I come home every day. I exercise every day, even if it's just like a small yoga routine, right, on the mat. And and that's the hard part. So in order to be connected, to stay connected to ourselves, we have to nourish and nurture and stay strong. We can't sit on the couch. Like, it's not going to work.
And you bring up a point in which society, the route that we're on is scary, in that the obesity rate, at least here in the United States, we are projected. I read one report not long ago, and if these numbers are to be true, then the projection is that by the year 2035, that half of the US population, the adult population, will be obese. And so, of course, coming from a fitness background, I'm right there with you. Motion is lotion, and group fitness was humble beginnings for me. It is extremely scary to think that there is that discord, that we're not moving the way that we should. And why is it hard for us to turn things around as it stands now?
Yeah. Oh gosh. How many reasons can I give you? Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, lots of reasons. First of all, we are under exercised and overnourished, right? So the access to quick foods that are not healthy is it's cheap, it's easy, and it's not good for us. And so we've got that element. So it's hard. It's so hard to turn away from temptation when it's easy. And the temptation, and then as we stay in that, whether it's not moving very much or not eating very well, I'm a big proponent. Like, I think meditation is a very important part of wellness as well, and whatever route someone wants to go. So we get into these ruts and they get deeper and deeper and deeper. And as we get bigger or more out of shape, or it's like, you might as well throw in the towel. Why should I even try? Right. And because it's just so hard to get going again. And, that's what makes it really hard. And I think the other thing, and again, I was just reflecting on this too, our minds, when we decide we're going to do something, I'm going to get in shape, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, I'm going to fit in the bathing suit, whatever it might be, our minds are like, yeah, let's do it. And we're in for 2 weeks at best. And we are looking for results that are not realistic. And that makes it hard too. It makes it hard to stick with it over time.
And and you bring up a good point, that just the temptation to cut corners and just instant gratification and all of that. And I think the concerning piece is that we've been on this path for quite some time. And why is it that some people are successful in turning things around? What's been the missing link? What's been the one or several things that have been the difference maker for people to be like, what, this is how I'm going to reconnect with me. This is how I'm going to turn things around. What have you noticed has been the difference maker for people who have been successful in doing this?
I love this question, because the big difference that I've seen with my clients is we work with the big why. Why is this important for you? What would it mean for you if this change occurred? What's at risk if it doesn't? And, it comes down to relationships and employment and feeling content and happiness and joy. And so we create, when you know your big why, and it makes it so that it's almost impossible to step away from it. That's what helps. And I worked with someone recently who, he was drinking way more than he wanted to. And that's a big one, right? That's not an easy thing to deal with. And we worked with his big why, and it brought him to tears. And he's not perfect, right? There's not a perfect fix because things take time. But man, what a change in terms of what was happening before I worked with him to what's happening now, and his ways of moderating. And I will also add, just is like the community. He had support and love around him. He had people, they knew what he wanted. He shared it with them, and they supported him. So his big why, along with that support in that community, was really big.
And that's an incredible situation to learn about. I can't help but think about how important it is to be of sound mind when you're making big decisions and not have the emotions get into the mix of the decision making process, and yet to get grounded and understand the emotions more. It almost seems like a contradiction. Or if how I'm presenting this question, would these scenarios be at different phases in someone just choosing to get that reconnection for themselves, or to reconnect with themselves rather?
I'm wondering, I'm thinking about people that I work with. So it's not, people don't come to me and say, I want to live into my true self. I want to be connected to myself. That's not actually what they're saying. They're saying, I am tired of being stuck in this situation, and I need to figure out a way to move through it. And that's where we start working into, like, who are you? Right? So it's the questions that I ask them where they're like, that's a weird question. No one ever asked me, like, who am I? Who are you now? I don't know. Who am I now? So we work into that. And I love what you're bringing up around the emotions and like the rational mind, right? Making decisions. And
Because I think of the idea that if we make decisions that are impulsive, there's an emotional charge behind it.
Yeah.
So clearly emotions are having a say in that scenario. So then logic would say, ideally, to decide without the emotions influencing. But at the same time, how do we establish that, but then have that disconnect from making that decision, but then reconnecting with emotions to understand where we are? So it's almost like, does one cancel out the other, or what say you?
All right. So here's Darcie's bit of wisdom.
Yes.
On on that impulsive decision, I am willing to bet there is a level of discomfort about something that needs to be comforted, right? So that impulse decision is not actually a decision. It's discomfort, and we don't like it, and I want to feel better right now. And so that's the emotion of, ooh, yuck, ooh, I don't like it. And that's when we have to pause and take a breath. And I don't want to make light of this. This is a very challenging practice, because those impulse decisions will sneak up on us and we're reaching for something or clicking buy or whatever it is. And then we look at it and we're like, did I really want that? I don't think I actually really wanted that. And so we have to press pause. But that's the thing that's going on, is that emotion is leading the way. And that's when our mindfulness needs to come in and be like, okay, what's really going on? What's really going on right now? I am uncomfortable. And, I'll share, like, I used to smoke years ago. And so that impulse to grab that cigarette and have a smoke was like, it's automatic. So I had to retrain myself. And again, it's kind of like that rut. So impulse, behavior patterns, being in a rut, it takes a lot of energy to redirect and disrupt those patterns. But it can be done. It can absolutely be done.
How hard is it, or let me back up. In the case of someone who is navigating in different spaces with say home life and career, and when we don't have that connection, that authenticity, the embracing who we are, that empowerment, that self-empowerment even, what are some ways that it shows up and it sneaks up on us that we don't even realize? What are some examples that it presents as?
Yeah, I would say a high level of impatience with others. I would say a good amount of negative self-talk is probably taking place. And it also shows up when we want to set goals for ourselves, like maybe they're fitness goals, and they're just out the window all the time. Yeah, when we're out of touch, and I'm trying to, like, take me back to that original question because I feel like I'm veering a little bit.
So when the example of someone who is navigating and just navigating through, say, their home life and then just in their career, how would they know that things have kind of gone off kilter? What are some scenarios that present as an example of, okay, they're not in tune with themselves, they're not, that they're not dialed in, there's that discord? What are some ways in that it presents?
Okay, let's start with work, because I feel like that's a significant one. And so when that discord starts to show up, there's less motivation, there's less patience. That definitely shows up with maybe colleagues or a project. There's I'll just speak from my own experience, because you're speaking to me in terms of this. It's like I was showing up late. I wasn't satisfied with what I was doing. So what can happen at work when there's a discord, you may actually be placed in the wrong space for that position, right? It's no longer, discord means out of alignment, right? So we're no longer in alignment with what we want to do. And when that discord takes place, you might be less satisfied with your boss. You're not as happy with your team. Thinking about work on Sunday night just brings you down already. Like, these are signs that something's out of alignment. Wow. And the thing that we want to be careful of when we get in, because I did this, when we get into that place of discord, do not power through and just do more of the same, right? That is going to create more disconnect and more dissatisfaction and discord.
I would imagine that that's easier said than done, right? Especially if you're in an environment where there's a lot of commanding elements of line of work and such, that that if it's being insisted upon, or feeling the pressures, feeling the shoulders are heavy, but can't really tap out, can't really disengage from that, right?
Yeah. And I would hope, and this is something that I hope for workplaces, is that there can be open dialogue with our supervisors. And this is also part of personal development, right? So it's actually voicing what is going on with us, asking for what we need, coming with solutions into the conversation. And speaking from personal experience, if it's not a good fit anymore, it's okay to leave and find something else. As challenging as that is, and trust, I mean, I know because I've been through it, but it's, when we talk about, and I can even think about some times where I stepped into some really challenging conversations, but at the end of the day, it was the best thing I could have done because I was bringing in an awareness for my supervisor as to what was going on in my world, and we were able to bolster in areas that I needed and redirect some things. So, to anyone out there who's struggling with work, it's, communication, oftentimes, as scary as it might feel, might actually be one of the better first steps towards finding a solution.
Very, very powerful words. We're going to take a commercial break. Stay put. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Thank you so much for watching The Health Revolution. Our show is growing, and it's all thanks to viewers like you. No matter how you found us, please hit the subscribe button so we can stay connected and continue to deliver amazing content to you.
Introducing Launchpad, the perfect partner to help you launch your dream project to the world. We know that time is of the essence, and we're here to help you make the most of it. With Launchpad, you'll get access to the most advanced digital tools and strategies to take your idea from a mere concept to a fully fledged success. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned pro, we have everything you need to make your mark in the world. Launchpad, your ultimate launch partner.
We can take our own health into our own hands. Okay, so we'll kind of expand on that. So I take a lot of vitamins every day. Long before I started this business, my wife has had me taking my vitamin C, my B complexes, amino acids every single solitary day, and I still do, even though I still do IVs as well. But when you take vitamins orally, you get 15 to 20% of them. Some people get less because they have autoimmune issues. Some people have a lot of inflammation issues, whatever the case may be, so they don't get the absorption that they need to be getting. So they don't get their immune system built up. Doing the mobile IVs, I'm able to take your immune system, I'm able to naturally boost it.
Welcome back to the Health Revolution. We are talking about how to reconnect with your true self and really embrace that empowerment process to take it above and beyond where we are today. My guest today, Darcie Warden, she's a life and wellness coach. And we are talking before the break, we're talking about different scenarios in which that discord can present to where we can at least identify what needs our attention so that we can turn things around. Darcie, what would you say are some practical tips to encourage people to embrace that transformation, the empowerment piece of really stepping and elevating for or advocating for your future you, for a better you?
Yeah. I think one of the first steps is compassion for ourselves, because I see a lot of shoulds, people shoulding on themselves all the time, and that's not a very compassionate place. And so it's more about just being really kind to ourselves and knowing that what change you want in your life is possible, right? So you really have to believe that, and then finding the people in your world who believe in you. There is so much power in community, and I have not done anything that I've achieved by myself. I wouldn't be where I am today if I thought I could do it by myself. So find your community, be compassionate to yourself, and take small steps, because creating change requires energy, and you just want to get into that consistent habit of whatever change you're seeking in your life.
You work with a variety of people. You work with both men and women. What does that look like?
Oh, well, It's interesting. I find men and women, there's a lot of similarities in terms of our humanness, right? And but there's some differences too. And this isn't a blanket statement for everyone. This is generality. These are general. But I would say that women come to me really, really seeking to move towards their true selves, right? There's really like, what is my purpose in this world? What am I here to do? How do I stop people pleasing? How do I put down boundaries? Like these are things they're aware of. The men that I've worked with, they basically just want a plan, right? Give me the plan. I will execute on the plan and we're good. And so it's just a different flavor in terms of how men and women, at least in coaching with me, are approaching their personal development and how they make progress along the way.
So you have a program or a style when you onboard people. Can you tell us quickly what that looks like and how you work with others?
Absolutely. So I have a Rising Phoenix method, and the very first step is a discovery. So we take a full life, full spectrum look at your life, and then we dive into values and we get your personal mission statement built, because we always want to come back to that big why. That's the one thing that everyone gets with me. And then from there, we go off into whatever area someone wants to work in, and that's where we coach towards.
And then also you do have a mastermind. Is that right? Can you tell us a little bit about your mastermind?
Yeah, so I have a monthly mastermind every last Saturday of the month. It's online and it's free because I want everyone to have access to what I have to offer. And in this community, like I've been talking about, community is really important. And we mastermind on different areas like life purpose and finding clarity. That's a big one. People want clarity in their life. Mindfulness. What does that even mean in your day to day? And how do you take these elements and with wise action?
Now, is this a group for both men and women? Is it just all kinds of people from different backgrounds? And then how far reaching is this? Is this global? Is it just on this side? Is it just North America, or what does that look like?
Yeah, it's nationwide. I guess if someone from another country wanted to join in, they could, but it hasn't happened yet. But it's across the country. It's men and women, and it's people who work in corporate jobs, business owners. It runs the gamut. Yeah.
Who is this for? Who is this for? Who is the person that would best benefit from this?
I think someone who really is someone who wants to live a life with meaning, right? Someone who wants to leave a legacy and have an impact in the world. Those are the folks that I find really get a lot out of the mastermind and the coaching.
And then obviously this is every single month, your mastermind every last Saturday of the month, and it's just on an ongoing basis.
Yep, it's ongoing. Once you have the link, that's the same link. You don't have to sign up again. Just put it on your calendar and you can Zoom in.
And so when you work with someone, it's also, the mastermind is a group setting, but the one-on-one piece is something that it would be separate from that. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. So the one-on-one coaching is, we just meet once a week, every other week, depending on what someone wants. Yeah.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We are coming right back. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Welcome back to the Health Revolution. We've been spending quality time with our guest today, Darcie Warden. She's a life and wellness coach. We're talking about reconnecting with our true selves and what that empowerment piece looks like. Darcie, where can we find you in the virtual space?
Yeah, I am on Facebook. So you can just find me with, Darcie Warden, Life and Wellness Coach. And I'm also on YouTube under Darcie Warden. And I have my Instagram channel, as well as my LinkedIn.
And your website, what does, tell us a little bit about some of the components if someone is wanting to seek out and that this aligns with where they're going.
Absolutely. So my website is a great place to just get to know me and my coaching style a little bit. I have some free resources on there as well. So you can dive in and just start playing around with the tools that I offer. But it's a great location to just dip your toe a little bit into my coaching style and see if it's a good fit for you.
What do you have going on for the rest of 2024 and then entering 2025?
Yeah, so in 2024, actually next month, I'm starting my group coaching offering, which I'm really excited about because it's not cheap and I want to be able to access more people. So the group coaching is something that is a lower entry point and I think much more affordable for folks. And in 2025, I'm going to be launching a course. So look forward to that. And it'll be self-paced and on your own. So that should be fun.
Are you lending your voice in different areas and arenas to really talk about this and get granular with different groups? Is this something that is part of the landscape, the horizon?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked that because I find that when I'm working with groups, when I talk about what I do and, whether I'm on a panel or I'm speaking to a small group, they want more information. So that is definitely going to be something that I'm leaning a lot more into. Yeah.
So being able to speak in different environments and that's something that you
Yeah.
are available in. Okay.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
One last thing I wanted to ask you super quick. What's the one message you want the audience to know about the space you represent?
Oh, you are worthy, my friends. I want you all to know you are worthy, you are loved, and you deserve to live the life that you want.
Darcie Warden, a life and wellness coach. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
And for all of our viewers, of course, our website is thehealthrevolutiontv.com. Definitely take a note of that. You can find our newsletter where you can subscribe to. You can also send us an email with any show episode note idea or show episode ideas that might come to mind. Upper left-hand corner of your screen, you're going to see a QR code. Feel free to snag that all the while. And then, of course, every Tuesday and Thursday, you will find us on E360 TV, specifically the Achieve TV channel, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. That is all the time that we have. Tune in next time. Of course, until then, take care of yourselves. We will see you then.